as a first-time starter. Hamilton's all over the field, leading the defense.
He covers, he blitzes, tackles. There's nothing that kid can't do. You know, a lot of things that people don't realize about him is, you know, don't let the baby face fool you. He'll try to rip your face off. I mean, he's a great player.
Pro Bowl voting is open. Hamilton, while he doesn't lead strong safeties and interceptions, his numbers are the best: 3 sacks, 2 picks, and 1 forced fumble.
And if you're looking ahead to your weekend forecast in detail, this is our GFS computer model. This is what we use to make the weekend forecast, the extended forecast, as we work our way through Friday. For getaways here, if you're taking an extended break, looks like we could see some showers, especially in the afternoon. Saturday, primarily rain-free, it appears, although there's some showers to the north and to the south that might give us a sprinkle, perhaps a little better chance of at least some spot showers again arriving for Sunday. And hey, if you're going to be spending the weekend inside or maybe getting on the roof, be careful. Of course, we got Christmas decorating in full swing. I know how to decorate my house. This weekend, we have some rain showers on the way again for Friday, but warmer temperatures, 53. Not going to feel very Christmassy. And Saturday, Sunday, high temperatures in the mid-50s. Again, some spot showers on Sunday. Best for outdoor activities here, I think, on Saturday.
All right, Jonathan, thank you. Coming up on Fox 45 News at 6 o'clock, Fox 45 presses state leaders on how they're addressing juvenile crime, what we're learning about the governor's latest crime plan. A fire breaks out at a vacant house in West Baltimore, how fire crews battled that fire and what a bystander did to save someone.
New tonight, a family's plea for answers 2 years after a 13-year-old is shot and killed in West Baltimore. Why they fear the case may have gone cold. A holiday weekend plagued with crime as BPD arrests 15 juveniles in the past week. Why some city residents say something needs to change. Dozens of hostages returning home as the fragile truce continues between Israel and Hamas. Why U.S. officials are concerned for Palestinian civilians as Israel vows to continue its assault on Hamas.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 6.
That's what I'm hoping to come out of this, peace and answers, some closure for our family. Mayor and them came to the funeral, You know, they showed up at the funeral for a minute, but I haven't heard from him since, or nobody else in the matter.
Tonight, 2 years after the death of a Baltimore 13-year-old, her family is now begging for some answers. Thank you for joining us. I'm Mary Bubala. Malaya Turner was shot and killed outside a West Baltimore rec center in November of 2021. Her mother, aunt, and family friends, some with tears in their eyes, begging for closure today. They fear the case has gone cold, so they're calling out the mayor and police, claiming they haven't received any updates from detectives or city leaders.
I haven't heard from anyone in 2 years. I was told that, you know, whatever I needed or whatever they could help me with, they were here. You know, and it's like after the funeral and everything, it just seemed like everything just went silent.
The mayor's office did share a lengthy statement this afternoon saying BPD continues to work diligently to find Malaya's killer. The mayor also saying he personally was in contact with the family following their loss, and they're doing everything in their power to close this case, accusing adults of refusing to step up and share information that could lead to an arrest, and saying young people cannot become just statistics. We have team coverage tonight of the ongoing juvenile crime crisis throughout the state. In just a few minutes, Mackenzie Frost looks into Governor Moore's juvenile crime plan as lawmakers in Annapolis work to hold young people accountable. But first, Alexa Ashwell has calls for change from city residents after a string of crimes over the holiday weekend.
According to police, juvenile arrests are being made, more than a dozen for various crimes within just 4 days. But what happens after the arrest is what's really being called into question, and for many, the biggest concern. It was here on Park Heights Avenue in North Baltimore where police say officers took 7 juveniles into custody for auto theft. The youngest, just 12 years old. And for one 15-year-old, police say it was his 9th time being arrested.
Why isn't there rehabilitation happening if a person has interacted with a system 9 times?
Local Reverend Al Hathaway reacting. The teen was one of 15 juveniles arrested for various crimes from Thanksgiving Eve through the holiday weekend, and one of 3 teens with previous arrests. On Black Friday, a 14-year-old and 2 15-year-olds were arrested for the armed carjacking of an elderly man near a South Baltimore elementary middle school. One of the 15-year-olds, police say, had 3 prior arrests for auto theft.
A lot of my seniors are being terrified of young people.
And on November 22nd, a total of 5 juveniles were arrested for 2 separate crimes, one being the armed robbery of a man near Patterson Park. In the other case, just a couple miles north of the park, 2 15-year-olds were arrested on drug and gun charges. One of the teens, again, with a previous arrest.
It means that there's not rehabilitation happening. And one of the purposes of systems is to rehabilitate those that come in contact with them.
Reverend Hathaway is hopeful this upcoming session, lawmakers can fix what he calls holes in the system that are allowing young people to continue to commit crime after crime despite previous arrests.
The governor, our legislature, they need to look critically at the laws so that there are not any loopholes or scapegoats where people are able to get through without having the consequences that need to be meted out. There should be rehabilitation, but there should also be consequences.
Now, in one of these cases, an armed robbery, police say an 18-year-old was also taken into custody. Court records show that teen is being held without bond. But how the juvenile cases are being handled, again, the public is unable to see, which some say impacts accountability. Alexa Ashwell, Fox 45 News.
And Fox 45 News continues to press state and local leaders about what they're doing to address the juvenile crime crisis. As we inch closer to the legislative session in January, we still have not gotten a concrete plan from the governor on how to address the juvenile crime crisis. Mackenzie Frost continues our team coverage with the governor's latest juvenile crime plan.
Governor Wes Moore continues to make broad statements about his ideas to address juvenile crime, but has yet to talk about specifics. And now some lawmakers are saying the governor is out of touch when it comes to the juvenile crime crisis. In 6 weeks, Annapolis will be swarmed with lawmakers as the 90-day legislative session gets underway. But right now, the work is slow.
Thank you all for joining us today.
Governor Wes Moore facing questions about dozens of kids getting arrested over the weekend.
Eastern and Patterson, possible armed robbery.
On November 26th, Baltimore police say 7 juveniles were arrested for auto theft.
For people who violate the law, regardless of age, there needs to be accountability measures.
The governor echoing what he said in the past, but not saying yes or no when asked if he will declare a public emergency due to juvenile crime, like Mayor Muriel Bowser did in Washington, D.C.
I think people understand how seriously we take this, and I think people understand that there is nothing that we will not contemplate, and there is nobody who we will not work with to be able to make sure that we're keeping our community safe.
But right now, it's unclear how he wants to get it done.
This is not a new issue.
Delegate Robin Grammer, a Republican from Baltimore County, growing frustrated with the juvenile justice system and the apparent slow action from the governor.
It's pretty clear that he doesn't even know what's going on. We have to hold the governor's feet to the fire. He's a nice guy, but he's a little bit out to pasture on this issue.
We pressed Governor Moore on getting details. I know you've said in the past that you will unveil your own juvenile crime plan. Where do we stand on that?
Well, I think what people know is that we've been working with individuals all across the aisle to be able to address this problem. We're very clear on the challenges that DJS has had and that have been long-standing. We're clear that when we came into office, we walked into a DJS that was understaffed and underfunded. And it's the reason why I appointed a true reformer.
But do you have a timeline for when the public will see your vision for this moving forward, leading on this issue before January 10th?
Oh, yeah. The public will see our complete rollout prior to the legislative session.
When?
And we're working in partnership with both Democratic and Republican leaders to be able to ensure that the basic principles that we have laid out before, how do you increase accountability? How are we making sure that we're addressing the issue of illegal guns and how easy it is to gain access to illegal guns? And also, I know the legislature is working on tweaks and reforms to laws that were passed before I became the governor that we want to see and we anticipate seeing.
No direct answer from the governor about releasing details for his plan. Meanwhile, lawmakers continue to debate the issue, and kids continue to cycle through the juvenile justice system without a clear plan yet on how to fix the problem. The governor also talks about providing more resources to the Department of Juvenile Services, but again, he's short on details. In the newsroom, Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
Taking a look now at the Fox Box, a fire broke out at a vacant building in West Baltimore early this morning. Fire crews worked to put out the blaze. A woman escaped with minor injuries after being rescued by a bystander. Mayor Brandon Scott has endorsed PG County Executive Angela Alsobrooks in her bid for U.S. Senate. However, she did not return the favor and has not endorsed Mayor Scott's reelection campaign. Alsobrooks says she hopes to receive an endorsement from mayoral candidate Sheila Dixon as well. BGE and Lyft have partnered to add 100 more electric vehicles for local Lyft drivers in an effort to support clean transportation in Baltimore. They're also opening 3 new public EV chargers in Baltimore City. BGE plans to add 17 EV fast chargers throughout the Baltimore area by the end of 2023. Governor Moore has announced a new initiative to expand access to contraceptive care across Maryland. He's partnering with Upstream USA to provide free technical assistance, training, and education on contraceptive care to healthcare providers in Maryland. Well, some of our state seeing some snow today as winter-like chill sets in throughout our region. Here's Chief Meteorologist Jonathan Myers.
Yeah, actually had some of the first flurries of the season reported at BWI at about 6:54, I believe, in the morning. We actually did have an hour's report of light snow. So no accumulation, just a trace reported. But nonetheless, now it's cold. 31, clearing skies moving overhead on the Inner Harbor Skycam. We're at 32 at Bel Air. Temperatures in the 30s even now at Annapolis. 29 at Columbia. Jarrettsville, you're at 27. Temperature at Westminster, Ellicott City below freezing. Pasadena, you're 31. 28 Owings Mills, and Dundalk is at 32. 21 here in Baltimore tonight. This could be some of the coldest air we've seen since early February with mostly clear skies. 20 degrees at Bel Air. Look at those teens at Columbia as well as at Westminster. You're going to need to turn the heater on full blast overnight. And for tomorrow morning's commute, down to 20 at Denton, 21 at Elkton and West. Looks like a lot of teens popping up. Frederick, only 20 by morning. But I'm going to let you know we're going to have a significant warm-up coming our way when temperatures go back above average. That's all in my Weather Authority forecast.
I'm Scott Thuman in Washington with what President Biden's proposing should happen after the fighting stops between Israel and Gaza. But is it even possible?
Israel and Hamas releasing more hostages and prisoners on the 5th day of their truce, how it could turn into a longer-term pause in the conflict.
Fox 45 News, winner of 16 2022 Regional Emmy Awards, more than all other Baltimore news stations combined.
We have breaking news out of the Middle East. The 12 hostages freed by Hamas today are now in Israeli territory. The IDF reports the group includes 10 Israelis and 2 Thai nationals. Israel released 30 Palestinian prisoners as part of the truce deal, which was extended yesterday for an additional 2 days. Mediators in Qatar are working to extend the truce further, hoping for a longer pause in the deadly war. Meanwhile, the United States is urging Israel to better protect Palestinian civilians if it follows through on its promise to resume the war after the truce ends. Earlier, Israel and Hamas blamed each other for an exchange of fire between troops and militants in northern Gaza. However, there was no immediate indication this would endanger the current truce. Israel has said it will continue to extend the truce for an additional day for every 10 hostages released by Hamas. Mary?
Mother of one of the Palestinian college students who was shot in Vermont, speaking out about her son's condition. The 3 friends were on a walk Saturday in Burlington when a gunman shot at them. 1 has been released from the hospital and 2 are still getting medical care. One of them was shot in the chest. The other victim has a bullet lodged in his spine. Doctors say he will never walk again. His mom says she is trying to be optimistic.
I believe that Hisham has the determination and the courage and the resilience to regain his legs movement, but the doctors currently say that it is not possible.
A suspect in the case is being held without bail after pleading not guilty to 3 counts of attempted murder. Federal officials are investigating whether the shooting was a hate crime. As the war in the Middle East rages into its 8th week, the White House is proposing a solution for after the fighting stops. 2 states, so both Israelis and Palestinians can have their own autonomous lands. But some argue that idea seems further out of reach than ever. It has been tried before. Sinclair's chief political correspondent Scott Thuman takes a look at what comes next.
As Israel and Gaza traded prisoners over the weekend, a sign that there can be successful negotiations, more fighting broke out Tuesday, violating an agreed-upon pause in the war and causing more skepticism that President Biden's push for a 2-state solution is possible.
2 states for 2 peoples, and it's more important now than ever.
The president's stance altered after he met privately with 5 prominent Muslim Americans who, according to the Washington Post, criticized Biden's initial steadfast allegiance to Israel as unfairly harsh and insensitive to the deaths of Palestinian civilians. The Post writing, Biden appeared to be affected by their account. "I'm sorry. I'm disappointed in myself," he told the group, according to 2 people familiar with the meeting. "I will do better." Over the decades, American presidents have often tried to broker peace in the region, all the way back to 1978 and Jimmy Carter's Camp David Accords. Other U.S. leaders tried their own methods, but with little tangible success. Now, Secretary of State Antony Blinken will return to Israel this week to discuss the political and geographical landscape after the conflict, but is likely to meet hurdles.
The next government is going to have to put us back on a path to have a Palestinian state. That's not easy, but it is the only way forward for Israel.
Prime Minister Netanyahu reportedly told Israeli lawmakers, "I am the only one who will prevent a Palestinian state in Gaza after the war."
Over 1,000 civilians participated in the massacres of October 7th. The last thing we're going to do now is rebuild another Palestinian terror state that will attack us, massacre us, shoot rockets at us.
Leaving a post-war future very much up in the air. In Washington, I'm Scott Thuman.
Fox Triplecast this evening showing us some clearing skies on the Mile 1000 cam and the Toyota HD Harbor Skycam HD radar. Well, the latest weather maker actually is a little bit of lake effect snow. It's really diminishing at this point, and it's mainly relegated across Pennsylvania and New York border, but gave us some of the first reported flakes of the season earlier this morning over at BWI, just a trace. So you could probably count the snowflakes, but nonetheless, it qualifies. 31 degrees, clear skies now on the Mile 1000 cam, winds out of the west-northwest, excuse me, at about 17 miles an hour. So it is cold. Humidity 41% and our wind chill only in the teens. Temperatures all across the board in the upper 20s to right around freezing. You thought it was cold here. Look at this. Westminster, Bel Air, you're in the upper 20s as well. It's at Hagerstown, mid-20s at Cumberland, 14 right now at Oakland. And we did have accumulating snow up that way in the past 24 hours up in ski country by Wisp Ski Resort. Oakland feels like 1 right now near McHenry, Maryland. 12 degrees of real field temperature at Cumberland, 15 at Hagerstown, 19 in Baltimore, and really the entire state, except way north and west, either in the teens or the 20s on their wind chill. Now, the HD radar showing us some good news if you don't want to deal with any more of those flurries. They're, again, mainly relegated off to our north and west right now toward Williamsport, Altoona, Pennsylvania, Rochester, New York, as well as Syracuse. But around here, as they come up and over the Appalachians, they diminish. So the snow showers and flurries going away, even up there in portions of lake effect country. I think those will dry out. The cold weather will stay, though. The blustery conditions will begin to give it up. So that's some better news, even as we head into more cold territory tomorrow. Highs barely making it to 40. It's going to feel better. And then finally, some warmer air trying to move in. It's still not going to be warm, we won't say, but it will likely be above average for this time of year, which means some 50s by the end of the week into this weekend. Future scan all the way through the overnight hours into early tomorrow morning. There is that cold. Some of the coldest weather we've seen since early February, dropping down into the teens, perhaps north and west at a couple of spots, and right around 20 elsewhere near the water, probably the low to mid 20s. So a hard freeze pretty much area wide. And then for tomorrow, high temperatures really have a hard time getting much above about 40 degrees, and we're in the 50s on Thursday. Could see some rain showers for Friday. and it looks mild but turning more unsettled again as we head towards Sunday and Monday. I've got your exclusive 10-day forecast adding on 3 more days. It's coming up in my exclusive 10-day forecast after the break.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
The first big lake effect snows of this season have started. Here's a time lapse showing the Golden Dome at Notre Dame fading behind a snow squall. Here's what one of those snow bands looks like from a distance. Notice the clear skies directly above the photographer. A viewer near Rochester, New York was already measuring up to 5 inches of new snow as of early Tuesday morning.
Listen to Off the Radar, new episodes every Tuesday. Find it wherever you get your podcasts.
The historic Lahaina community continues to rebuild 4 months after devastating wildfires tore through the island of Maui. Why officials are now encouraging tourists to make the island their next vacation getaway. It has been almost 4 months since deadly fires swept through West Maui, the flames destroying the historic town of Lahaina, stealing livelihoods and lives. In tonight's Assignment America, Holly Menino from our Sinclair sister station in Seattle looks into why Hawaii's Tourism Authority is encouraging travelers to make Maui their next vacation spot.
The Hawaiian island of Maui, nicknamed the Valley Isle, is home to 160,000 people. And while Lahaina remains closed to the public after deadly wildfires claimed lives and homes, the Hawaii Tourism Authority is calling on the West Coast to help Maui get back on its feet.
If you love Maui, we'd love to welcome you back. And if you haven't been here, then it's time you came.
The Hawaii Tourism Authority says they need visitors to sustain jobs, support local business, and build up the community that heavily relies on tourism.
85% of the jobs on Maui are dependent on the visitor industry, either partially or fully. So the return of visitors is really quite critical to our recovery.
Ways to help include donating to recovery efforts, shopping local, and also voluntourism, volunteering while on your trip to Maui.
Support the local spots because that's the most generous way that you can help Maui and Maui's businesses get back on their feet.
In the first quarter of 2023, Maui welcomed 725,969 visitors, compared to 616,048 visitors the year before. Total visitor spending for the first quarter of 2023 was $1.79 billion, compared to $1.29 billion the first quarter of 2022.
The other areas outside of West Maui can come back a little